Welcome to today's Explainer. We're stepping right back into the peaceful cobblestone streets of Strasbourg. It's July 1518. Back then, Strasbourg was just your bustling, everyday city in the Holy Roman Empire. But that ordinary vibe, it's about to be completely thrown out the window. We're plunging headfirst into one of history's absolute strangest, most bizarre real-world events. So buckle up, because we're going to unravel a historical mystery that literally still baffles scientists today.
Seriously, just imagine walking down a quiet European street, and suddenly you spot a lone woman dancing right in the middle of the road. Her name, according to the historical records, was Frau Troffea. But here's the incredibly eerie part. There's no music playing. Absolutely nobody is celebrating. It's just her. Hours go by and she keeps dancing. Days pass and she still doesn't stop. Witnesses at the time claimed she simply couldn't stop. It was like she was entirely trapped in this relentless rhythm.
Okay, let's dive into this, because the timeline here is where things get truly alarming. On day one, you've got just Frau Troffea dancing all by herself. But within days, dozens of people start doing the exact same thing. They pour out of their homes and just join her in the streets. And as we move a few weeks down the line, some historical sources suggest nearly 400 people might have been affected. We're talking about a massive, citywide crisis that just exploded out of nowhere.
To understand exactly why this happened, we've got to look at the environment. In 1518, Europe was a literal pressure cooker. Ordinary people were enduring this immense, soul-crushing stress. You had famine, widespread disease, extreme poverty, and political uncertainty. That was just daily life. And on top of all that, intense religious fear was woven into everything. A lot of folks firmly believed diseases and disasters were direct punishments from God. So you have a population pushed to its absolute psychological limits.
Section 1. The Doctor's Deadly Mistake.
Now, what's really interesting about this is the completely absurd medical response. Local physicians examined these dancers, and instead of calling it a curse, they diagnosed them with something they called hot blood. And their cure? I kid you not, more dancing. They genuinely believed these poor people just needed to dance it out of their systems. The authorities basically weaponized the plague. They actually hired musicians. They built stages. They brought in professional dancers to keep the momentum going. Instead of shutting the frenzy down, they actively threw a massive party for it. 400. That is the staggering number of people who were ultimately swept up in this frenzy. And largely because the authorities' bizarre cure made the situation astronomically worse. By providing stages and blasting music, they inadvertently poured gasoline on a fire, just dragging hundreds of highly vulnerable people straight into the chaos.
So, this bizarre medical intervention, it turned what was a strange anomaly into a very dark historical tragedy. The human cost here was just devastating. Historical reports tell us that people were collapsing from sheer exhaustion. We're talking horrific accounts of people suffering strokes, heart attacks, or just extreme fatigue. They were literally dancing themselves to death. Now, while modern historians do debate the exact death toll, since records from back then are pretty spotty, there's absolutely zero doubt that this whole ordeal caused widespread, utter panic across Strasbourg.
Section 2. Investigating the medical theories.
All right, suspect number 1 on our list is the curse of Saint Vitus. Like we mentioned earlier, in medieval Europe, folks strongly believed that disasters were a direct punishment from God. And Saint Vitus? He was a figure heavily tied to uncontrollable dancing in European folklore. Because of that, a lot of people were convinced the victims had been cursed by him. To fight back, the community started performing intense religious rituals and went on long pilgrimages, desperate for relief from what they saw as divine wrath.
But jumping forward in time, modern researchers started looking at a more biological culprit, ergot poisoning. Now, ergot is a type of fungus that infects ryegrain. And what's absolutely crucial to understand here is that this fungus contains chemicals very closely related to LSD. Yeah, the hallucinogen. It's known to cause severe hallucinations. So the theory was that the people of Strasbourg essentially ate some poisoned bread and went on a massive collective trip.
And this brilliantly illustrates exactly why modern scientists pretty much reject the whole poisoned bread explanation. Let's methodically rule this out. See, ergot poisoning causes incredibly severe muscle spasms and intense, crippling physical pain. But in stark contrast, the historical reality of the 1518 plague was coordinated, continuous dancing that lasted for days on end. Think about it. People suffering from severe, painful muscle spasms simply do not have the physical endurance to dance nonstop for hours, let alone days. The hard medical evidence just completely contradicts the historical records.
Section 3. The true cause revealed.
So, what's the real verdict?
Today, the scientific consensus points directly to mass psychogenic illness, which you might know as mass hysteria. This happens when extreme stress, fear, and intense social pressure actually cause the human brain to produce real, physical symptoms without any infectious disease even being present. It's essentially this fascinating, kind of terrifying glitch in the human brain. And get this, it still happens today. Similar events pop up throughout history where people faint, shake, scream, or just uncontrollably imitate each other without realizing it. Under enough extreme psychological pressure, the mind literally just hijacks the body.
Let's move to and see how this builds. We're looking at the exact step-by-step psychological recipe that triggered the plague in Strasbourg. Step 1. You start with extreme societal stress, famine, and widespread disease, which creates this unbearable baseline of anxiety. Step 2. You inject that intense religious fear of curses, specifically the terrifying folklore surrounding Saint Vitus. And finally, Step 3. Once Frau Trophea started dancing, it acted as a spark for an unconscious social contagion. Highly stressed observers saw her and unknowingly started imitating her behavior. Many historians today agree that the dancing plague fits this exact pattern perfectly, a complete mind-body breakdown fueled by overwhelming shared trauma.
Section 4. A mystery for the ages.
You know, despite all our modern theories, no event in recent history has perfectly recreated the dancing plague of 1518. While mass psychogenic illness does a great job explaining the general mechanics of how the brain can pull this off, the exact specific trigger, that remains completely unknown. Scientists and psychologists all over the world are still debating why hundreds of people behave this way at the exact same time on such a massive scale. So even with all our advanced knowledge of psychology, it honestly remains one of history's greatest unsolved mysteries.
More than 500 years later, the streets of Strasbourg are peaceful once again. But as we wrap up this explainer today, I really want to leave you with this one thought. How could hundreds of perfectly ordinary people suddenly completely lose control of their own bodies? Was it fear? Was it religion? Was it just pure psychology? Or is it something history still hasn't quite explained? The fragility and the power of the human mind is just truly astounding. Thank you so much for exploring this wild historical mystery with me, and I'll catch you all in the next explainer.